veggie bites. We need to give the dog a treat, don't we? Here you go, buddy. Wait, let's show him your trick, okay? Speak. I inadvertently taught him to jump when I say speak. So that is his one trick. Anyway, welcome to Sage and Stone Homestead. My name is Heather. The sun is setting because of course we've gone through the time change and it's time for me to start making dinner. Now I was going to start off this weekly homestead vlog with making bone broth. I still am going to make bone broth. I just don't feel like starting it tonight. But I am going to be cooking with some of our Malabar spinach. I had stopped harvesting it over the summer. We were really just having it raw in salads and it was so good and so refreshing, especially when chilled. But one of the more common ways to consume Malabar spinach is like a stir fry. So I'm going to experiment with that tonight and I think it's going to be good. As you can see, we still have plenty of Malabar spinach to pick from. All parts of the Malabar spinach are edible. Inside these little berries are a couple seeds and they're kind of big and crunchy. So I'm not really aiming to get any of these clusters in my harvest tonight. But the stem, tender shoots with little flowers, all of this we can grab. So I think it was when I amended these beds for the fall garden that this Malabar spinach really did get a second wind and started growing a lot. So I have decided to pick from it. You can hear those are all little seeds hitting the ground. We've already had quite a few volunteers from the Malabar spinach, and so this is probably what this archway is going to look like in the warmer months year after year. I'm so here for it. I really love volunteer food. Volunteer food is just food that grows because a seed had fallen, not necessarily something that you planted intentionally. And volunteer plants are usually some of the strongest and I encourage them. In the summer when harvesting, all I did was pinch off some of these bigger leaves and put them in the refrigerator. Put them on salads and on sandwiches. They were so good. I really appreciated having this growing in the summer because many other leafy greens just simply don't work for us. It gets too hot, especially in this greenhouse. Stuff gets way too hot. Now this is going to be dead when we finally get a killing freeze or frost in the greenhouse, but who knows how far away that is. Now I'm not entirely sure if this is going to wilt down heavily like regular spinach does. As I mentioned, I've never cooked it before, but I think I've probably got enough. Here are some of the single leaves that I've harvested, and then we've got some of the leaves with the vine. Do you ever go to try to cook something and realize you need to do dishes first? That's me. And I do get a lot of questions asking me, can you even see me? There we go. I do get a lot of questions asking me how we use the food that we grow. And I feel like this is such a valid question because a lot of times it's easier to grow the food and preserve the food than it is to try to figure out how to cook the food, especially if you didn't really grow up cooking from scratch, and I did not. I grew up with my mom cooked out of boxes like rice-a-roni and things, and those things are totally fun and totally valid and completely nostalgic for me, and I love them. But because I grew up that way, it's been really hard for me transitioning into the way of eating where you're mostly cooking from scratch. So simple is best. Try not to overthink it. I've got some bacon fat here. Any kind of nice flavorful oil is going to work. That was just a big dollop. And I am not going to wash these. Ooh. Stand back. Maybe I need to turn this down. Get out of the kitchen. Put some farm dust on it. This is a great all-purpose seasoning with no funny stuff in it. So the greens of the spinach are cooking down really nicely, but the stems are still kind of, they've got some substance to them. So I want to see They're edible. I was hoping that they would cook up a little bit like a green bean and be more tender, but they're not. They're definitely more chewy, and I don't really want them in those long strips. I crunched it up to like a paste, which will work. Now, because I am going to want some veggie bite and some kind of substance to our meal besides the meat that we're putting in it, I am going to dice up 4 of these scallop squash that I still have from earlier in the year. These plants have been long dead, but these squash actually last a pretty long time in storage, a couple months at least. My spinach mixture was starting to stick to the pan in a way that I didn't really like. Eventually we're gonna add more of this mushroom stock into the pan, but for now I just added a little bit so that I don't burn things. You may have noticed I had the oven preheating, so while this is kind of simmering and cooking down a little bit, I am going to put our sausage in the oven. This is from our Kuni pigs that we had butchered last year. You can pan fry your sausage just fine. I like to put it in the oven. So they'll only take about 15-20 minutes to cook at 350. This honestly looks like it would be a great side all by itself. I do have a couple children that will revolt if I don't offer carbs with dinner, so I am gonna put some rice in here. So I think I will put the whole rest of this mushroom stock in the pot. It's gonna make quite a lot, but that's fine. We can have leftovers. I got this giant bag of instant rice at the Amish store for $7.50. So we're trying to go through this. The ratio instant rice to broth is 1:1. So I know that I put in a quart of mushroom stock in here, so I'm gonna put 4 cups of the instant rice. Once this comes to a boil, we're there. Okay, once the rice is in, we can just shut it off. Stir this in, and then it takes about 5 minutes for the rice to rehydrate. So our Malabar spinach almost makes this look like an herbed rice. So that's pretty cool. Sausage all done. You're welcome. See? Simple. But using a lot of farm stuff.
What pig is this?
Huh?
What pig is this?
What pig is this? Evidence that the kids don't really care about naming the animals. This is Gertrude and or Pearl. Probably a combination of both.
They've purposed to name animals that were destined to the freezer.
I know, they want to know who we're eating. I know that sounds strange to a lot of people, but we talk about the animal that's on the plate very frequently. And we did get our girl pigs made into things like bacon and sausage. So we know exactly who this is. Yep, just bones. Hello, happy Friday. So I am a little bit overdue for getting some bone broth going. It was 2 weeks ago, essentially tomorrow, that we butchered 4 of our meat goats, and my husband actually wanted to take the time to take each and every rib and carve out the meat from in between the ribs in order to put it in our ground meat pile. So he's done that. So we're gonna come out to the garden and collect some herbs. Garden's kind of crazy, but you know, it's the time of year. Look at my dill. What are you doing in my dill, sir? Oh. Over here in the grass, I do have quite a lot of oregano, and it's not at its peak or prime right now. It's in its dormancy, but I have a lot of it, and actually some of it has started to take over some of the beds on either side. It's supposed to just be right here, but oregano is in the mint family and it can be a bully. I'm gonna grab several sprigs of this fresh oregano to throw in the roasting pot when the roasting of the bones is done. It smells lovely while I'm harvesting. I'm trying not to get grass in there. So the bones are in the roaster roasting. They're almost done. But I came out here because I noticed that my automatic vents were starting to open in the greenhouse, which means it's getting decently warm in here. I wanted to come out and open the doors and turn on the fans because I don't want the warm weather that we're having to cause my brassicas to bolt. So anyways, I came in here. I had to come back and get you because I saw the coolest thing. Now I see this frequently, but this is a lot. Look at all the mushrooms out here in this lettuce bed. Look at them. Aren't those so gorgeous? Now I wanted to grab you and show these to you because these particular types of mushrooms do not last very long. They're called inky caps and they break down soil matter, and they're a good sign that you have good health in your soil. There's some popping up over here. All these probably are popping up due to me watering the other day. Here's another mushroom. That's a different type. See, the vent already shut. Temperature stabilization accomplished. Bones in here look roasty toasty. All right, so I'm gonna add a few things to the pot now that we've got all the bones roasted. These things are really just for flavor. It's worth doing. Now I will note that you're not gonna see me add anything like peppers or carrots or other kind of root vegetables. I do have some onions, those are a little bit different, but those types of vegetables tend to add a lot of sweetness to the broth, which we don't prefer. This is actually an elephant garlic monobulb. This is essentially one big clove. I've got quite a lot of elephant garlic. I am gonna crush these at least. I may just cut them all. It's a little bit easier to cut these versus crush them, but I am gonna leave the skins on. Onions, these are from the store. I'm gonna cut these up maybe into eighths. Also leave the skin on. I was looking for my bay leaves. Apparently I'm out of those, but we are going to the store today, so I can always add those later. I'm gonna add in a hefty pinch of peppercorns. This is a lot of broth. I put in 4 gallons of water. I almost forgot the apple cider vinegar. This helps draw out all the good minerals and goodness from the bones. Hello, it is now Saturday and I am actually getting dinner in the oven early. We're gonna have some roasted goat leg and roasted goat shoulder, and usually I like to put some broth in the bottom of the pan to help maintain some moisture in the meat and to give me something to make a gravy with later. So it just so happens that our bone broth has been simmering overnight, and so far it's a good color. I think I am gonna leave it in here to simmer for a little while longer, and we'll actually process this tomorrow just so things can cook down a little bit more. But I am gonna use the broth that I have in here for the bottom of the pan instead of opening a jar of broth, and this will be good. Just so you all are aware too, if you're watching any of my weekly vlogs and I don't get into super detail about what I'm doing, usually if I have like an accompanying video that does go super into detail about whatever subject, I will link it in the description box so that you can get more detailed information on that. And this does include on how to roast goat. I have a video for that, and I'll link that along with some other relevant videos in the description box. All right, so the project that I'm doing today is one that was suggested to me by one of you. And one of the things that was brought to my attention recently by one of our members, also named Heather, was that if I have a big wall of peas, like I have, that's all foliage and no flowers, so no peas, that in order to kind of trigger the peas into fruiting, what I can do is cut them off at the top and they'll be shocked enough into flowering, potentially. I have grown peas every year since 2019, and I've always had success. I've never grown 5-foot tall pea plants and not had blooms, but these are King Tut purple hull peas. I've not grown this variety before, but there's literally no flowers, and these are huge plants at this point. So I'm gonna take Heather's advice and chop these down, and I'm very eager to see how this works out. This is good forage too. I'm gonna grab that bucket and we'll feed these back to the goats. interesting to see the result of doing this. Now I didn't take off as much as I could have. I guess we could have removed about 1/3 of the plant if necessary, but we've gotten quite a bit chopped down, and so hopefully that shocks them into producing. Mooch, are you missing out on the treats? Hello, it's been a wet, rainy Sunday. Started at about 2 o'clock this morning, and we've gotten 2.5, 3 inches of rain so far. We have a break in the rain. I did start the canner this morning with some broth. I just started again with a second round. And while that's venting and things, I need to come out and take advantage of this break in the rain and take some feed down to the barn because I ran out. We use this old refrigerator as a feed storage, and it works very well. It's watertight. Everything stays really nice in here. Look at Cheddar. Cheddar, that's Buster. Buster's a good boy. You're such a very intimidating floof. Yes, you are. No, no. Get. You're peeing on my hay. No, no. Go. Go, go, go. Buster doesn't normally follow me into the barn like this, but we're on day 2 of rifle season, and the random gunshots coming from all over the place are kind of freaking him out. Maybe baby Mizey. Good morning. I wanted to show you all of the bone broth that I got canned up. We got, let's see, almost 3 gallons of it canned. I have some of it in the refrigerator because we'll use it this week. And then I still have the bones and scraps and things in here. Now I really wanted to show you what this looks like as far as the bones go, so you can know if your bones are all used up, and these are. So this is one of the rib bones. It's got some little veggie bits attached still, but can you see how easy that was for me to snap? Essentially, when your bones have nothing left to them, they just crumble, really no matter the size. So because they crumble up so well, I just throw this entire pan in with my chickens because there are still minerals and things that the chickens can really benefit from within those bones, and it's a great way for our goats to go even further for us in how they help care for us and for the other animals on our homestead. Come on, boys. There, this hay's better. Try this. Yeah. That's what I thought. Come on. Get your feet out of it. So I bought this powdered zinc supplement. It's actually designed for horses. I've given this to my goats before when their hair coat just hasn't been of quality, when their knees seemed like they were kind of stiff, when their hooves kind of seemed like maybe they were a little bit brittle. A couple people, to include Mooch's breeder, has said that they think maybe Mooch is low on zinc. So I'd like to see what he thinks of this. Can you not? We're gonna take the junk hay that they will not eat and go put it on the compost. I don't know if you noticed, but my buck Feral, he looked really thin. Sometimes they would rather starve than eat certain hays. So gotta pull this out, it's not worth anything. Okay, so it's a little bit later in the day on Monday, and I do have 3 of my Californian rabbits over here that I think need rebreeding. So this here is Jumper. She was due this past weekend and hasn't had babies yet. B-Doe was due today, and she has not even built a nest in her nest box. And this is C-Doe. C-Doe was bred a couple weeks ago, and I did what's called palpating. And I don't have a video on palpating a doe. It's when you kind of feel around in her belly to see if you can feel babies, and I genuinely don't feel babies. Now, I have not been the best at palpating does, which is why I haven't made a video on it, but I'm gonna put her with the buck and just see what happens. So normally what I do, this is how the does are set up in the barn. Delilah had a couple babies, and so Delilah is still in the barn, and I will go ahead and breed them in the same order. So we'll have Jumper, B-Doe, and C-Doe. Well, Jumper is very receptive to the buck, just like she was the first time. Got no lifting here. This little guy hasn't tried. Go on. Nope. Nope, no lifting for them either. That was a good one. That's what they did before. And we have no babies. No, Mr. Abraham in here, he is kind of old. And when I bred them the last time, we were just coming off of another heat wave, and extreme heat can make bucks temporarily sterile. So he might just not have come out of that as quickly as some of the others did. Maybe because of age, I don't know. But one reason that a doe may not settle or get pregnant is being overweight, and that is a possibility for these girls. Because I don't breed them year round, they spend half of the year really just eating and laying around, and they could easily gain too much weight. These poor boys are still trying, and both of them might not be lifting because they genuinely might be pregnant. I might still have just to wait a little bit, and that's okay. I'll keep working on them. Good boy. Good job. That was 3 fall-offs though for Jumper and Abraham, so I'll write this date down. Good morning and happy Tuesday. I roasted this pumpkin last night. We had some of it with dinner. It was like a shepherd's pie kind of, but with buttered pumpkin as like the mashed potatoes and some sausage, pork sausage and cheese. It was so good. I actually think I'm going to be canning this other half of the pumpkin at some point today, and I also did save the seeds, so I think I'll roast those. Kind of make up for the last time I roasted seeds. I burnt them. But it's also been like quite a while for me, honestly, since I have made homemade bread. It's been probably at least a week. Usually I make 2 or 3 batches of bread where I make 2 loaves of bread every week. So we'll go through 4 to 6 loaves of bread a week. It's not hard when you have a 6-person family. I'm not really sure what fell off, but I just haven't been making bread. I need to get back into it. I've been keeping my sourdough alive, kind of barely. I haven't been feeding it as often as I really should, and it is starting to get colder in the house, which means that things are not rising as fast. The sourdough is not as active. So I probably need to be paying a little bit closer attention to that. Beauty. Did you have a good night? I know, is the ground wet? Is that annoying? This gate here to the barn is shut, but there's those little nooks where the kitties can get in. Come on, go inside. We've been letting the barn kittens out full time the last couple of nights, and they've been doing well. Good morning, girls. Would you all like to partake of the front pasture today? I think I am going to let them out on this beautiful ryegrass that I planted just for a day. Letting them out not only benefits them and getting to eat some fresh stuff, but I get to clean this area out because they're not eating that hay either. One thing that is different about this particular pasture than out there is that the wire is bigger. It's field fencing instead of sheep and goat fencing, and so the little Nigerians, there's pockets that they could probably get through. You gonna be the first one out here, Tori? You girls gonna come out? You're free. Because we get a heavy dew every morning, they're really not interested in the grass at this exact moment, but pretty soon with the sun coming up and beating down on the grass, the dew will burn off and they're gonna have a good day. Hi, Tori. I gotta feed the kitties too. I'm coming to feed you. Yes, back up. So it's gonna be a good day for the goats for sure. I'm gonna go ahead and end the video here just so I can edit it and get it out to you guys. I know that it's plenty long enough. I do have videos on my bread making process and how I can up my pumpkin. I'll leave those videos along with many others in the description box below. I'll see you guys again soon.